Hey, Chris Liepe here with how to sing like Conor Mason, Nothing But Thieves. And man, you can definitely hear some Jeff Buckley, some Jimmy Necco, but this guy is his own vocalist for sure. Inspirational. How he uses his chest voice, his upper chest voice, with his lower head voice and blends those so seamlessly. His approach to clean mix is wonderful to study and internalize. So I'm excited to get into this with you. If you'd like to go deeper with your own voice and you'd like a vocal coach, the best way to get started with me is to click the link below and join my free vocal course. It's the perfect gateway to see all that I have to offer and all the ways that we can work together. All right, let's get started. He starts in chest voice with that sort of anticipatory sound. And then listen to Sharing Secrets. And then by the time he hits world, he's in pure head voice. Sharing secrets with another world. And he's on the same note the whole time. I'm gonna sing one note, and I'm gonna start in chest, and then I'm gonna go to head voice. And I'm gonna moderate my airflow at the same time. Airflow and attentiveness to positioning is the main thing that's gonna help you transition so seamlessly between your chest and your head voice on one note. This is a fantastic thing to work on with your own voice. Look at me. No break. So practice that in different areas of your range. Take inspiration from this little sample. It's going to get a lot more interesting next. Listen to the sheen he has on his voice and the subtle transitions. Listen to do and then out. What? It's like he starts dark, and he's a darker sounding vocalist. There's almost a bit of yawn. If you can practice yawning with range, that's going to help you get into the vicinity of starting with Conor Mason. But then if we take the yawn and practice lower larynx, raise soft palate, and then practice closing those, adding a bit of compression and a bit of nasality, we get that subtle tonal variance that he uses in lines like this. What we do, keep that in mind as we continue as well. I love the rhythm that happens here, as well as that wonderful transition between chest and head voice. It's obvious here. It's not obvious in some of the other examples. There's a little bit of breathiness in there. It's not a complete chord closure on that head voice. Okay, now we get introduced to his subtle, clean mix, and this is fun to play with. Start with the yawn that I recommended earlier. And then he transitions into an almost chest resonance with lights. There's this push, but it's still light. What do we do when the lights go out? Let's play with it a little. What do we do when the lights go down? Head voice into mixed voice. The key here is to use yawn to facilitate a slightly different feel when you add a bit more push. And then the supported mixed sound you can get is amazing. Now, he's got a high voice to begin with, but he's using his head resonance and this thin yawn mix to really go places. So cool. Next. Now, here's another example of his starting soft. Here we have a repeated phrase, so we can really internalize the dynamics of what he's doing here. So right there on run, there's more juice behind that. It's like there's two runs in a light head voice, and then he seamlessly juices it into chest voice. Next. Now here, he's making no apologies going between his resonances. And there's a little bit of Tom York here as well, where we're embracing. I mean, we definitely got the yawn, the darker thing going on, but then when he is adding that sheen right here, until we break. He's coming more forward, more nasal, more brash. He's getting his face out of the way, his lips. Until we break through. Until we break through. Beautiful. And at the end of this line, he really lets it trail off there. Until we break. The transitions, they're so subtle, but they add to the emotion and the delivery. It's really quite cool. Until we break through. Until we break through. Next. I get high. Control over breath. He's not holding back air in this head voice note. Breakthrough. Very good closure. There's some compression happening to accentuate that break on that one. And then here, there's this sort of letdown. I get high. You can hear, just like I did there, he starts out letting more air through. It's more breathy. And then as he goes into those other words, he closes his chords a bit more, closes the tone a bit. Really interesting. High. Adds a bit of vibrato at the end. That's fun to play with as well. Next. Singing the word baby, but there's a lot going on here. If we take that first note in the chromatic walk-up and he kind of bounces over it, like, so, it's not quite that. There is a connection between his head and chest. Once again, it's super subtle. And then he backs off to just head when he adds the vibrato. Notice it's not just. There's that extra juice at the beginning of each note. I'm exaggerating it a little bit, and we should exaggerate it more. Next. Full-blown mix most of the time here. Dark, yawn, tell me if I'm being strange. But then he doesn't do what I did, where I sort of leaned into strange. Strange! I did that. He's going the other direction. Tell me if I'm being strange. Exaggerate it a little bit more. Get into that clean mix. Tell me if I'm being strange. And then back off as you go through the line. This way of singing is not only really cool to listen to and sounds super emotional and dynamic, but also saves your voice. Because if you always are sort of pushing through your lines, tell me if I'm being strange. I mean, that's almost easier to do than this. Tell me if I'm being strange. There's more consciousness you have to have, where as you decrease in breath availability, you also learn the balance of backing off and pushing less. I think we tend to, when we're singing these longer phrases, when we get to the end of our usable breath, we tend to push more to make sure we are supporting ourselves. But if we understand how to use our head voice and our chest voice together, we realize that if we go down in intensity over a line, we get more use of our breath and create a neat dynamic effect. Next. What's fun about this one is we have sometimes the. We could cover them all in one resonance or the other. It sounds like sometimes the hours are wasted. It sounds like he's using his head voice for the whole thing. But do we have to? Listen to hours, though. It's almost like he pushes up into that clean mix. Sometimes the hours are wasted. Let's experiment with that a bit. Sometimes the hours are wasted. Sometimes the chest. Sometimes the hours are wasted. Sometimes the hours are wasted. Sometimes the hours are wasted. And next. Okay, another cool transition in the mix. Listen to how he switches up into way up into head for wake up. Give! That's that bright, Buckley, Jimmy Necco, Tom Yorkish, Bono-ish almost. Give you a wake up call. Give you a wake up call. Give you a wake up call. You see, it's not just about singing high. It's not just that he just has a high voice. It's that he understands intuitively and at an amazing level how to use his upper chest and his head voice together. Cleanly mix them together using support and using that yawn approach. He's darker than a lot of guys who use this sort of technique. And when you watch him sing, you can see this too. He's not a terribly open singer in terms of getting his face out of the way. I mean, sure, you heard examples of him. You heard examples of that. But in general, he's darker, mellower, more closed mouth. Really fun to listen to. Thank you for suggesting this one over and over again. This is a lot of fun to do. Again, if you'd like help with your own voice, click that link below. Join my free vocal course. We'll see you for more.